feel like the movies, I 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 feel like the movies. Are we all in the movie? Are we all in the movie? Wake up in the morning, ask is this real?
To visit Mr. Tendernism, but Keith Lee likes to do this thing where he doesn't like attention. So he sent his wife into the store, and then Keith Lee was talking to Mr. Tendernism, and the owner got mad, was like, "Why you serve Keith Lee?" Why? Like the owner was like, getting on Mr. Tendernism because.
Well, because Keith Lee was trying to give him for $4,000.
Yeah, and the owner said no, you can't have that tip.
And it's messed up. And I think they're like, it is a indication of the sense of entitlement that comes with capitalism that we've just seen time after time
I don't know if it's a capitalism thing or if it's just a white people thing.
I think it's because it's definitely not just a white people thing.
It's black people be doing something.
Yeah, people be like, it's everybody, because it's this idea of like, oh, I invested money in this business, therefore I deserve all the good that comes out of it.
Or I own you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I pay you, and so
limit. Like, for example, with Mr. Tenderism dude, like the dude, the owner, the white guy, I forget, I don't know his name, and it doesn't matter because he don't matter, right? Like the owner, he had a coffee shop, right? Then he hires Mr. Tenderism, whatever his real name is, right? And then the dude brings like some kind of like barbecue and gumbo shit. So then they stop selling coffee just to sell just his product. And then they turn around, they blow up. Then on top of that, he blows up on TikTok, becomes a viral star, brings even more of an audience. And so it's like, this dude has paid you whatever your initial investment is 5-10 times over. The fact that you went behind his back to go get the trademark for something that he popularized,
something that he came up with, that exactly
like you're
that.
just keeping him in his position as an employee. You're never you don't want him to grow and become big and have his own thing and be his own boss. No,
exactly. Because that's the thing. It's greed, right? It's just greed, and it's people feel like, oh, I'm paying my employees, I'm doing them a service. You ain't doing them a service. Like there needs to be a shift, right, in the cultural mindset towards work, because I think the way we have it right now is fucked up, right? Like applying to jobs is crazy because you are doing everything to make it easier on the business you're applying to, right? Yeah, the employer, and they are doing everything to do the least, like you can spend 30 minutes on an application cover letter, making your resume perfect, tailoring it to that specific job, send it in, and they have some AI chatbot just say, nah, because you didn't have the right keywords in there. Like, it's stupid. Yeah. It's so stupid because it's so heavily weighted in favor of the businesses because we are too focused on the money. We are ignoring people. That is the problem. That is why I am very, not anti-capitalist, but the capitalistic system in America is not working because we have lost sight of people. We have decided that money is the only thing. And if you think I'm wrong, answer me this. Why is it that people's social value is based on their net worth, right? If you see a rich man walk into, or at least a very well-dressed man, someone who can afford a suit, right, walks into a building, you're not really going to look, like, you might look twice just to be like, oh, he looks good, he doesn't really, like, you can kind of get away with a lot if you look the part, because in America it's all about looking the part. However, it's like, we can't show, like, the same kindness and decency. Like, you might hold the door for a dude in a suit, but a dude who's clearly been going through it for the past month, hasn't slept in a bed in you don't know how long, hasn't had a shower in you don't know how long, looks disheveled, he's messed up, he's got facial hair, he's hurting,
His girl dumped him on Christmas.
He needs help, exactly. Like he needs help more than that dude in a suit. But you're less inclined to help that person because you feel like, and yes, there is danger. Like, I'm from Philly, I'm not gonna act like every homeless person is, is someone you can help, because there's a lot of times it's like, mental health crises,
drug addiction.
Yeah, like there's a lot of reasons people are put on the street, And even with drug addiction, like a lot of it comes down to psychological factors. That's, is why I believe mental health is so important, because it just is. It is important, guys. It is what puts people on the street a lot of the time, because they don't get the proper help that they need in order to deal with these things. Like, there are so many like disorders that can just make you can make life incredibly difficult. And it makes it incredibly hard to participate in society. But yeah, so it's, there's just this focus on money as like the key thing. And we lose a bit of humanity every time we make a decision in favor of money. But the problem is the people making the decisions are controlled by money, right? Politicians can't get to where they are without a campaign. They can't have a campaign without backers. They can't get backers without making some agreements. Like, we all know stuff happens behind closed doors. We saw it with, and it's everywhere. It's across the aisle. This is not like a left or right issue. Frankly, the left or right don't matter. Y'all look at left and right, but it's up and down, right? There's the owning class, and there's us.
That's some bars right there.
And that's all. I'm just 6,000 languages known to mankind, and I choose to only speak facts. It is crazy because it's just, and it's very simple psychology as well. The left, or the reason we are so politicized, right, is because, I mean, look at the news, right? Everything is political polarization. Everything is the biggest deal ever, the end of the world. Everything's super inflammatory. The purpose of most modern media is to get you mad, to get you to engage with them. And the problem with that is it keeps us as the, middle class, as the workers, as those who should be rising up and saying, hey, this systematic inequality is unacceptable in this country, because now you have the top 1% owning 50% of this nation's capital. You've got BlackRock, who owns more than half of the housing market. Like, you can't afford a home because some rich asshole said we should buy all the homes and then jack up the prices. What are they going to do? Not live in a home? Yes, they're not, because you can't afford it.
They're going to blame the immigrants.
And then they're going to say it's everyone else's fault. So they just keep us fighting with each other, so we never realize that the real enemy is the motherfuckers who put us in this situation, who made times so tough, who jacked up the price of living in this country without barely moving the rate of employment. If you look at
wage,
exactly, if you look at labor statistics, Americans are working harder than they have been for less spending power than they have ever been able to accrue. Like, yes, we get paid more than people did in 1970. That's true. The number is higher, but the value of the dollar is far lower, and the ratio there did not track. Like, it did not keep consistent. So now you can work like a job that would be making the same money, the same amount of money, right, that it would have made in 1970, but adjusted for inflation, right? But you wouldn't be able to afford the life that it used to afford.
No, of course not.
And not because you're making you're not making enough money. It's because the cost of everything is so exponentially high. And yes, I know it's a complex topic. I know there's no easy solution, but there are people who can help fix this. But they won't, because they profit off of a broken system. And that's why we have billionaires who don't care about you. And by the way, if you're going to get in the comments and defend a billionaire, just know they ain't going to love you, bro. Like, they're not going to support you. They're not going. You could be dying on the street and they will walk right past you and at best be disgusted by your presence. Don't think that any billionaire cares about you, and don't think that you'll ever be
close to a poor.
Exactly. And it's like, don't think that you'll ever become a billionaire either. You won't. They don't want you to, right? They if you start a successful business, they will either buy you out or take you out through legal or illegal means. They might undercut your prices and just get you out of the market, or they might just pay someone to put a bullet in your head. Who knows?
I mean, for me, it sucks because it's our grandparents really had that shit good. In that, Grandpa used to work for $3 an hour, and he was able to have a 1-bedroom house. I mean, not 1-bedroom house, a 1-person, working for the whole family with a giant house with a garage and a backyard, and then he had a whole nother family on the other side of town that, you know what I'm saying, grandma sometimes did not know about. And like,
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? I mean, that was like the 60s, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I want to be able I want to be able to afford me a side family, you know what I'm saying, should I choose to have one. Like, but we just can't even do that nowadays.
Dude, I mean, like, I would like to.
Unless you have like Nick Cannon money or something.
Shoot, I'd love to be able to support my family and then support them extra, you know? Like, I'd love to be able to be like, hey, fam, we're going to Disneyland. Because I don't have a side family. Like, a side family's overrated to me. Frankly, that sounds like way too much work.
But, like, you know, you always got to, like, have, like, a backup family in case, like, your first family don't work out. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's going, but I think it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
As I said, at that point.
I would argue that, you know, maybe you should, like, love your family. Love them enough to work it out. Like, it's what I was saying earlier.
The grandmas used to hold it down back in the days. Like, they was getting cheated on and still,
yo, for real though, shout out to grandmas. Strong, like, yo, I mean, not to, you know, let me put the matcha in the bag real quick, but shout out to grandmas, you know, strong, independent women who was, you know, put through rough times. Like, let's be honest.
Making sandwiches.
Exactly, that's my thing. Like, dude, women was going through it back then, man. Like, yo, they couldn't, like, it was almost impossible to live on your own as a woman in, like, at a certain point in America.
That's how the system was set up, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's how the system was set up. Like,
to be a woman.
Exactly. Well, because America is a work in progress, right? It's constantly being changed. And when it was started, we can see where the bias began. Because who wrote the Constitution? Who created the rules for this country? It wasn't just like, it wasn't old white men. It was old white landowners, right? Rich, not rich, but like, they were still somewhat the upper class of, like, relative to America. That became cemented once America was, you know, ratified as, you know, independent. And then, like, since they played such a key role in independence, they had a lot of wealth and influence through it. Like, I mean, it definitely started out a little more free. Well, free for some of the Caucasian persuasion, because, you know, as the melanin kept us, you know, it just proved that we simply belonged in the fields, you know. They I guess that was their mindset, at least.
Let me ask you a hypothetical, right?
All men are created equal
for just entertainment purposes only, right?
He's about to say something crazy.
Insane, I know it. I'm getting ready for it. I gotta mentally prepare.
He about to be like, yeah, so
he said that, all my muscles instantly tensed.
Wrong to take on Jew, like, it's about to be something like that.
How many lashings do you think, like, you could take? Like,
what?
I feel like, right, like what we see right now with the Minnesota stuff and ICE and all that shit, it's kind of like pest control. Like,
it definitely feels like that, yeah.
Like, before we can get to the point where we surpass them or we're even equal to them, we gotta knock them off. You know what I'm saying? We gotta, like, chip at the old tree and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now, it sucks, right? Because if we ever got to a point where, like, we had power, no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't work good. Like, have you seen white boys? Like, they don't pick oranges. They don't fucking, you know what I mean? Like, they're not good for those kind of jobs. So, like,
I just imagine, like, this dude just sitting on your couch being like, oh, what? No, sorry, I'm trading on Robinhood right now. Yeah, no, I can't. Dude, plants, nah, I don't do that. Yeah, but, like, crypto, I got you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's crazy. That's insane.
They're just not built for that. You know what I mean? But yeah. I do think, like, right, like, isn't it right, like, can you picture what equality for, like, ever in your lifetime? A point where, like, we'll, like, actually be equals, not...
That's a hard thing to agree on, right? Because America is a country that is one of the most fundamental driving forces behind a lot of American policy is fear, right? Fear of the other, specifically. We talk about, like, oh, like there's so... I think anytime when I get into a conversation with someone about like trust, right? Trust on a societal level. The same point is brought up. Well, they're like, well, what if SNAP benefits? SNAP benefits is a great example, right? Because this was something that like people were talking about because Trump, like the Republicans actually were the ones who caused the whole government shutdown, right? It's like you can say they were like, oh, it's the Democrats' fault for not agreeing with us on everything. But it was like the Republicans refused to compromise at all. They were like, we want this, and this, grossly overreaching, by the way. And the Democrats were like, hey, we don't want to pass the bill that says all children under 5 must starve. Like we don't want to do the thing that hurts hundreds of thousands of American families all across the country. But they had to because people were people were dying. Like that's the thing. Without SNAP benefits, there's so many people.
I don't doubt that, but you have to. There's going to be collateral damage, regardless of which aisle you swing on, right? So, like for example, if you cut the healthcare, you cut the food stamps, people die. You can't reach a deal with the Republicans. People die. So either way, people are going to die.
But that's the thing. Like, why do we act like that's the two? Like, so it's no, because we're getting into a point of like, oh well, these are the two options because this guy refuses to move. That's the bad guy. That's the villain in the story. Like, if we were looking at this from an objective perspective, you would see, okay, so the reason that people, like the side that wants people to continue having access to these life-saving services, is being halted by the side that wants to cancel those services. And it's like, oh, well, but people don't die if those services continue. It's like, oh, well, my taxes are too high. Your taxes are high because the person who makes the laws, who sets the tax rate, also sets their whatchamacallit, their pay rate. So they, like, over COVID, we saw where Congress's, allegiances lie.
Ultimately, the Democrats conceded, and that's what I'm getting at. It's like, what was the whole point of the shutdown if you were going to concede to the same shit that you shut down the government for?
Well, like, I mean, we don't know what happened. We don't know what was said behind. Like, that's the thing, because it's politics, right? And it's people, so there can be, no matter what we see, it's what we are supposed, like, it's what they want us to see, right? So, shout out Hamilton. The room, no one was in the room where it happened, so we don't know exactly how they arrived at that point. But what we do know, right, is that people are dying, right? People who need these services. And the common argument I hear against that is like, oh, well, don't you think people are taking advantage of that? Don't you think that? Blah, blah, blah. People are so afraid of possibly, of these services possibly being abused, which, yes, there is definitely people out there who are surfing off of, unemployment benefits, sure. But, like, the vast majority, right, like 70% of all SNAP benefit recipients are, like, I forget the exact statistic. It was, but it was like, I believe it was 70% under like 12 years old or over 70, I believe, or over 80. Either way, it's people who cannot work, who need that support because they are physically incapable of it. People with disabilities, people with like all sorts of life situations. I don't want to be going off like, generalizing too much, because generalizations are truly, like, it's why we can't really get anywhere in conversation a lot of times when people debate, because you make a generalization, you say, man, every time this happens as a result, and it's like, then the person you're debating with is like, well, actually, here's one time that this didn't happen, so you're completely wrong, and everything you said is and it's just like, we really need to get to a point of understanding where it's like, yes, it is wrong to make generalizations. It is. Like, it's not good. It's a bad practice in debate. However, we also need to have an understanding that you are debating with humans. Humans are flawed. Sometimes we use generalizations as shorthand because it takes way longer to say in certain conditions, this may occur because of these factors, and statistically there is a correlation. Like, it's too much. It's a lot easier to just say, like, man, we've seen this time and time again. Every time this happens, this happens. So yeah, I think it's fucked up, and it's this idea that money is the most important thing. It comes back to this, like, there's very little to no trust in American society, which is why we get laws passed that distrusting your fellow man, which only furthers this culture of distrust and anger. And that's how we get, like, that's why I gotta wait 15 minutes just because I'll pull up to a CVS and I want to get, like, a thing of deodorant, but it's in that stupid lockbox thing, because, it's a constant self-fulfilling culture. Like, if you look at, and I get it. Like, if people be stealing, people be stealing. But there's a reason people be stealing. Not saying that stealing is right or that their stealing is justified, but we gotta look at the core issue. What is causing these? Why do we see such high crime rates in low income areas? Is it because criminals live there, or is it because living there easily leads to crime because you are denied opportunities, right? Redlining is an illegal practice. It was outlawed. If you don't know what redlining is, basically, post Jim Crow era, banks set up these maps. They pulled out, like, maps of the municipality, and they outlined these areas in red lines, low income neighborhoods that were made up of mostly minorities. They basically outlined the black side of town, and that's when redlining was created. It was specifically a racial thing. It was to outline, it's like banks were like, these people don't get loans. If they live in this area, they are automatically denied of a loan. That traps them there, because if you don't have a loan, if you don't have the means to save up a large amount of money to buy a house in a better area, to pursue with better opportunities, less crime, more security, it's hard to get out of the hood, especially when you can't get a loan, because you kind of need a loan to get a home. Sure, you can save up, but that is a lot of money to save up. It would take a lot of time, and if you're in that neighborhood, like, if there could be threats to your life on a daily basis. There could be people who want to come take that money from you, and, like, if you're not able to get out of there fast enough, then, your family's stuck there. That's why people get stuck in it, and it's such a heartbreaking and draining, and it's every day it wears you down, and that's why people get into drugs. That's, like, the psychology behind addiction. People feel hopeless, and so they turn to the only things that can bring them comfort, because it feels like they're never going to get out of this situation, so why should it matter? That's why I don't think we should judge homeless people for smoking meth, all right? Because when... No, hear me out. Let me cook.
Cook away.
If you are living on the street, like, I'm sorry, but if you've been on the street for a week, you have not slept on anything more comfortable than a piece of cardboard on the asphalt, that's, like, I can't think of a better time to try meth, Like, when a rich person crushes it up into white powder and, oh, it's, that's them being, that's them being rich and partying and blah, like, there's a stigma around it for sure, but it's not the same stigma as, like, seeing a dude on the street smoking out of a crack pipe. Do I think that people should be doing crack? Hell no. But I don't think they should be judged as harshly as they are for doing crack when they're in a situation where, honestly, it cracks your only comfort at that point, because we are very bad as a country. Newsflash, we are bad at taking care of homeless people. It's awful. I mean, there are so many things put in place to keep them off of, like, away from storefronts, like these people who need help, who need assistance, who just need a little bit of grace and love. We don't give it to them. In fact, they are explicitly met with like antagonism.
Yeah, ridicule and all that stuff.
Exactly. Like, they're, and we blame people for being homeless, but, like, there's a lot, like, this system has a lot of cracks and people fall through it very often on a daily basis. You could be homeless tomorrow if like the right, like there's just, if the right conditions hit you, you can be like hospitalized. And then, oh shoot, I forget the statistic. I gotta look this up. But there's a very high number, and I know this is very unscientific. I don't want to fake the statistic. I want to be honest, you know. There's a very high number of people who go into bankruptcy. There's a certain percentage. I don't remember if it was more than half or a little bit less than half, but a high percentage of people who go into bankruptcy due to medical debt. So because you got hurt and you went to a hospital and they saved your life is now forever changed financially because because of medical bills. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of saving lives, what do you guys think about the situation in Minnesota with all the protests, ICE going around shooting mother of threes, you know what I mean, in the head for trying to escape and shit like that? How do you feel about the situation?
ICE has no business doing anything, really. Like it's like
I think it's targeted.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, the Supreme Court literally passed a law that was allowed ICE to racially profile, which is, it's clearly, and we know it's as much as conservatives want to say that it's not is because there is people who are on the side of no, not all human life is valuable. Some humans deserve to die. Blah 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 blah. And it's just like, dude, you can it's despicable. You know, it's absolutely despicable. And I think if people were, it's not just about intelligence anymore. It's not just about being smart. It's not just about the research. It's about doing that and having human decency and having love for your fellow man. And there are just people out, like, in America, because it's a very individual, like, it comes from a very individualized culture where we are taught, like, hey, it's you got to look out for you got to protect yourself, you can't trust others, you can't trust other people, you know, that's just ingrained in us from a young age through a myriad of different influences, right? Like, there's time after time, we're taught, like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, be your own support system, do this, do that, especially as men, right? Because we're kind of, like, trained, like, hey, don't rely on others. Like, you got to be able to do it yourself. Otherwise, you're weak. And so, we built a culture around that, and that culture is fundamentally evil because it doesn't care about people. It doesn't care about helping others or doing good. It only cares about protecting oneself at all costs. And that's where America is, like, fundamentally poisoned. Right? And it bleeds into everything. It's everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and honestly, I saw this shit coming. That's why last year I made that fucking animated, movie about the life of an immigrant in America who was talking about, yo, this is how I feel. It's scary as hell. You know what I mean? Like, and how do you feel, like, as a black man in America coming off, like, you know what I mean, Black Lives Matter movement, all this stuff that, we've seen over the last couple of years. Like, wow. I know there's been a couple of black people that got killed by ICE so far, but it really hasn't been, like, too many considering, like, comparatively to the undocumented or whatever.
Yeah.
But how does it make you feel as black men in America?
Like seeing ICE?
Just seeing the brutality that's being displayed to other, people based solely off their race.
It kind of just reminds me of how life was in, like, the 80s and 90s with cops beating on, like, people of color, like, specifically black people.
Yeah.
And, like, just seeing ICE is just making me think, like, it's only going to continue to get worse until,
it's the
like,
same exact
either
thing.
Trump calls them off, because it all started with Trump.
Yeah.
Or, like, someone fights back. And that's why I said it'll lead to a civil war, because it's only going to get to... You can only poke the bear so much. It's only going to get to a point before...
It's how many of us have to die before we... Because that's the thing. It's like, it's white people are scared of a revolt, right? Because we've seen that throughout racism in history, right? we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but like the psychology behind racism and like oppressing black people was this fear that if black people ever had the upper hand, they would use it to get retribution on the white people who, when they had the upper hand, abused, enslaved us, hurt us. And then even after slavery, even after the Emancipation Proclamation, there was still slavery in America for years after the 13th Amendment was ratified, by the way.
There's still slavery nowadays.
There's still slavery, exactly.
It's prison, you know what I mean?
Dude,
how they,
don't even get me started on privately owned prisons.
I don't want to, go down that rabbit because, again, we're running low on time, and I want to get a couple more topics before we dip. Yeah. What do you guys feel about Iran versus Trump? Iran came out a couple days ago, and they said, hey, when we say death to America, we don't mean death to Americans and all of America. We just mean Trump. We want you to die.
I mean, I don't know if I want to be honest, but Trump been wilding, so it's like obviously
you almost kind of hope he does it. They do it.
I don't know because in my eyes, I don't think anyone really.
He's right there in that building.
No one deserves to die, but at the same time, it's like
I think death is wrong.
If someone were to die,
here's the thing. Here's how I look at it.
I think death is wrong.
I don't think Trump deserves to die. However, if he were to die, I would be like, oh.
It's kind of it's like
that. I don't know.
I think the loss of life is always a bad thing, right? However, I think at the same time, if you put yourself in a position where you are in support of the loss of life, if you're in support of hurting others and you're not open to fixing that, and in fact you're cementing yourself in this position, and you're like, the only way you're getting me out of here is in a casket. That was your decision, right? You made that choice. People said, hey, we're like, that's kind of why there is people talk about a civil war coming, because the people in power keep doing the thing that is hurting us, that is hurting America, right?
Yeah.
And we keep saying, hey, stop, like, don't do that, and they're like, no, I'm going to keep doing that. And it's not necessary. Like, I would say it's very justified for us to be like, okay, you made these terms. You made it this way. We kept asking you to stop. We tried to pursue it peacefully, but because you did not want to be peaceful, you chose violence. And now this is the situation we're in, right?
To the guillotine you go.
Exactly. Like, even as a Christian, the Lord doesn't tell us to just take abuse and accept it, right? Turn the other cheek was not about like just sustaining damage and and accepting it. It was actually there was a really interesting article I was reading that was talking about how it was a way of creating justice calling out the injustice of the act against you. So it was like if someone struck you on both cheeks in Roman law, it was I can't remember it exactly, unfortunately, but it basically it made it. It was like if someone slapped you twice, it became a felony essentially. So like that they would be. It was kind of like, in a way, it was like calling them. It was like calling them out on it. It was like, okay, you've hit me. Are you gonna get serious? Or like, is this gonna? Do you want to make this a problem?
Give my other cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Go and sure, I don't take up a sword, ye who has none, sell what you can and buy one.